Hello YouTube, this is Asatsu5. Thought I'll do a confession cam video. Keep in mind this confession cam video isn't necessarily a feel bad for me type of thing. It's, to educate you about my past, so maybe if you have kids that have some of the same issues, you can understand them a little bit more. You can better help them in the public school system. Uh, so, and you might find it entertaining. Um, but yes, this is Confession Cam. I have a history of violence. Um, Not so much now. You know, um, Actually, I'm really docile now, and I'll get into how that came to be. But I got picked on a lot, not only by students but by teachers. Um, and before that, my first real acts of violence were in kindergarten against this first grader who took Taekwondo, and this was almost like a weekly thing. I don't even know how it started, but you know, um, then there were some other things that happened, but probably my roughest years of my life were in the elementary grade level. Primary, they decided to medicate me for ADHD, which I don't think I was ADHD. I think I was a young boy on sugar. Um, but they put me on Ritalin to make it easier to deal with me, and I decided to quit it cold turkey. And if you don't know, um, Ritalin is an amphetamine, and I had withdrawals, so that was pretty rough. But and at Brook Hollow Elementary, principal was Miss Casper. Um, that's third grade through fifth grade. They were kind of known for having this dyslexic program and deaf ed program, and you probably remember from my past videos that I'm extremely dyslexic, extremely dysgraphic, and I have a speech impediment. And my speech impediment was much worse than this when I was younger. Like, even if you watch my YouTube videos, some of my first ones, and the one more recent ones, you can tell that my speech impediment has improved. At least I think it has. But it's much worse when I was a young kid, and my mom wanted me to be in this dyslexic program because it was had all this hype, and the people at the school pretty much told my mom that he is too slow, he won't grasp it, it's useless to put him in there, and they refused to put me in dyslexic program, um, and but they put my brother in it. Um, but I had documentation from the Scottish Rite Hospital that I was dyslexic and dysgraphic, and um, they refused to put me in that program until my last year there. And my and what do you know? After I got put in the dyslexic program, a program designed for people with dyslexia, my grades started to improve. Imagine that. I also had some abusive teachers, well, one abusive teacher that wasn't allowed to teach me for the remainder of the time that I was there. Um, um, and so it was just really rough. And I wasn't just getting it from the teachers, I was getting it from students. At this school, I was accused of being both too smart and too dumb by separate people, but it kind of made things confusing for me, like which one am I? And it got where some of the abuse was physical, which I took a good bit of abuse, especially if they were doing it in front of me and I saw it coming. But I had a button, and that is if you wait for me to turn around and then you run up and push me on the ground, or I turn around and then you hit me in the back of the head with a ball, purposely, in order to jack with me. And that was my trigger. And I would go into a blind rage, and I would chase the kid around the playground, into the school, outside the school, before someone would catch me. And I was asthmatic, so I couldn't really run that well. And I remember the coach, having to come up behind me and grabbed me around my body and arms right where my elbow folded, and I was kicking, flailing, and screaming and stuff, almost foaming at the mouth, and he had to hold me until I calmed down. And it was just a little bit earlier, you know, a month or so earlier, he told me, "Hey, if you need me to turn around and not look while you take care of something, I'll do that." Which you probably regretted that, but like I said, I kind of had a little bit more respect for people who actually engaged me and didn't wait until I turned around. But that double action heavy trigger pull turned into a hair trigger. It got where I didn't take crap from anyone. And like I said, um, I'm asthmatic, so I can't run and catch someone. But it did come physical a couple times. And, you know, um, yeah, it was pretty rough. And when I was in the sixth grade, I think, mid fifth grade, sixth grade time period, I asked my parents to put me in martial arts. I wanted to take karate, taekwondo, whatever. I ended up taking taekwondo because that's what we had. And after I learned how to fight, and I learned, the real consequences of um, what happens when you hit someone in the right place, and I learned why you fight and why you don't fight. Um, you know, I, I became a big pacifist. Now, don't get me wrong, I still had this attitude: if you jack with me too much, I'll strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger. Um, but I avoided it. In fact, the first time I used Taekwondo was against someone who didn't deserve it because they scared me. Um, and he was, we ended up being like really good friends. Um, and then in the eighth grade, I had three people. This was in a classroom, and they were making fun of me, and they actually hit me. Like they would walk up behind me and hit me in the back um, as they're walking past me, and then come around to the table that I was sitting at and sit in front of me and continue to make fun of me. And so um, during these exchanges of abuse and stuff, I never cursed them out or anything. I tried to keep a level head, but I got my friend's combination lock, put it on like a knuckle duster, and held it under the desk. And I told this story before, and they were trying to get a rise out of my brother. And then when they said something to me, I pretty much took my hand out from under the table, tapped the combination lock on the table, and pretty much said, "I'll be your Huckleberry," and smiled at them. And there must have been an intensity in my eyes because I weighed 81 pounds in eighth grade, and I was very small. And all three of them went to the principal, who my parents know from, you know, they were pregnant at the same time that my parents were pregnant, and my dad and him worked at the same company. Um, so our parents had a history and stuff. He knew me before I knew me, um, and they told him that I was effing crazy, and they told him what happened, and they were like, and he was like, "Well, you shouldn't have jacked with them." And I never had problems from those three kids again. Had a slight problem with one of them, but to be fair, he was having a really bad day, and I just said the wrong thing, and he kind of lashed out at me, but it wasn't bullying. He was hurt. But yeah, like I had no problems with any of them. And again, in high school, I didn't have any problems with anybody from my graduating class. Um, but I had a problem with one kid who was a grade level ahead of me and a few kids that were grade level under me. And I had this not back down, show no fear type attitude, but I really, um, for the most part, I had a willingness to fight. Like if it had to happen, it was going to happen. But I I wasn't going to be the aggressor. There was one time that I was aggressor with this one kid who was really he's not mentally retarded, but he's stupid. He just did stupid things. And he was a grade level ahead of me. And there were actually two occasions where I lost my temper in high school, and I really, really wanted it, but I was trying not to be the aggressor. And you know, so yeah, as I grew and as I learned about fighting and why you fight to defend yourself and your loved ones, occasionally to stand up for yourself, to prevent further violence. But it's not about um, making yourself feel good. It's not about revenge or anything like that. Um, and there's some religious things in there. Love thy neighbor, love thy enemy as your neighbor stuff. Um, but after I learned the kind of final details of fighting, I really had no desire to hurt someone in the sense I never really felt that I had something to prove, and I, I was never going to fight for the entertainment of the kids on the playground. Um, at least not in a unregulated way. If I'm going to fight in competition, it's going to be a legitimate competition with a referee and stuff. Not going to fight, um, you know, stupid kids for stupid reasons to prove how tough I am. Uh, so it was rough, and it's weird. After I learned how to fight, I had um, a smaller reliance on violence. Um, so keep in mind some things. First, violence is not always the answer. Sometimes it is. Sometimes violence is the answer, but it should be avoided. Um, if you have a kid who is learning disabled, keep in mind it's not because they're dumb, is that they have a handicap that makes it difficult for them to be in the academic world. Doesn't mean they're not knowledgeable or anything like that, but it just makes it difficult to be in the school environment. And a lot of these kids um, act up in class because it's they're frustrated. They have nothing else going for them. So just keep that in mind. Um, you can reach them, you can help them, and don't be afraid to take on the school system. If you have to, sue them. That's what we should have done. Um, that's it. Um, like I said, this is Confession Cam. Hopefully, you can learn from this, apply it maybe. Maybe you just find it interesting, but I had a history of violence, and I'm happy to say that although I can be pushed, um, I really um, have an avoidance to violence. I love UFC, love martial arts. Uh, every now and then I practice martial arts with my brother, but I have no desire to hurt people um, for the sake of making me feel good. So that's it. Hope y'all have a great day. I'm Satsu5, and I'm out.